Welcome to my third video of the Reality Shift series, and today we're going to talk about why honesty is important for a good life. First, the overview, and today we're going to talk about what honesty actually is, the three energy mechanics behind it, and how it works on the energetic level, how honesty actually shifts your render output, aka your reality, and the four-step practice of honesty. And then I'm going to talk about a personal example just to show you how it looks like in not just in theory but also in personal experience. And in the end, I'm going to give you some closing action to try it out by yourself. So before we start, I want to talk about topics that I have already covered in my first and second part of the masterclass. So the two things from the earlier parts are the topic of frequency, and it's your baseline energetic state, aka your inner state. It's basically the signal your system is sending out by default through your inner state, through how you feel, think, and what you actually believe. And the render system, it functions as an output of that signal. So what appears around you is the rendered match of your inner state. So basically, reality matches your inner state. And this is the foundation for everything that I'm going to talk about in the next parts of my masterclass. If those frames feel unfamiliar, the honesty mechanic in this lesson will still make sense, but the deeper why behind it is in part 1 and part 2. So basically, what you actually control is your inner state and what you're telling yourself and what you believe to be true. And everything out of it is the result of that. Your whole reality is the result of that. So let's begin and talk about what honesty actually is. And honesty is treating your situation, yourself, and your inner state as facts instead of the version you would prefer them to be. And it applies to domains like your circumstances, your surroundings, your emotion and feelings, and your reactions, your reflexes, your skills, your shortcomings, and your actual capacity. Also your wishes, including those wishes that you wish not to be true. So the rule across all of these is the same. Basically, honesty is stating what actually is there without overestimating or and without underestimating it. And what I've experienced is that doing it alone might be hard, especially in the beginning when you're practicing honesty, because there's a part of you that already knows the truth, and at the same time it can be the same part who is starting to build a lie. And like seeing the difference is sometimes not that easy, and an external mirror helps. And for me, it's my AI access. The link will be in the description. Sometimes it can be like I've modified it in a certain way for that, but you can just use any AI and prompt it to be bluntly honest with yourself. So there have to be specific prompts for that, but either talking to an AI honestly or to a person. So that system reflects my own input back to me with less filtering than I can do on myself, and AI makes the lies harder to maintain if it's prompted properly, or in my case, the AI instructed from the beginning to do it properly. So let's talk about the three energy mechanics behind honesty. With honesty, you're setting your coordinates in this reality. So reality is not a single fixed timeline. The render system can produce many possible output configurations, and which one you're currently in depends on the dominant signal your system, like your inner state, is sending out. And this is basically a connection most people miss right here. Which timeline you are in is not a question of luck. It is more of a question, what signal are you currently sending out? What inner state are you sending out? When you're lying to you, that can change or will change the signal. And a changed signal means basically a different rendered output, a different reality. Meaning when you lie about how you feel, or about what you want, or what is actually going on in your life, you're sending a falsified signal. The render system or reality reads that falsified inner state, like inner signal, and produces output that matches it. And over time, the configuration you were natively set up to run becomes harder to reach because the system never sees its actual output. So imagine every person comes in a specific configuration to this world. It's not a role that is assigned from outside. It's not the outside beliefs or programs, and it's nothing you can figure out by using personality tests, but it's more of an energetic blueprint, more of an inner program. And the type of output your system, it's basically the type of output your system is optimized to produce without interference of liars or outside influences, which usually we always have some outside influences, like outside beliefs from the parents or from society. And if you basically see the difference between what influences you from outside and what is actually that you feel like doing and want to do, then you start running your original blueprint, basically your original program. And let's call it for now your native program. And you can imagine just some people are built to perform, some people are built to teach, and some people are just the born basketball players. And also not because they are instantly born with a talent, but because it's the program basically. And when they feel that they should go into the direction and actually following that and are not blocked by anything else from outside, then they are living in their native program. Not that the people can't find it. It's more of a problem that the signal that comes out of them does not match their native program. It happens usually because somewhere along the way they started lying to themselves about what they actually want, about what they actually feel, and what is going inside of them. Here's how it works mechanically. Your inner state is the only input lever you can control. So that is the signal the render system, the reality, is picking up. So it's not your words you're saying, it has also the influence, but it's rather your inner state, your inner feeling, and what is running, what frequency is running inside of you. And that's how the reality basically forms around you. If you genuinely feel alignment with what you're doing, the system will route energy there. If you feel the opposite and tell yourself you're fine, and the system does not read your words or the story you're telling yourself, but your actual inner state. So that's why lying to yourself doesn't work, because it's still not the story that you tell yourself, but actually what's behind it. And through that, it produces basically an output that matches that state and not the story that you're telling yourself. So basically imagine you have a person who wanted always to be on stage or just become an actor, but is convinced themselves through outer influences, usually parents or society, and limiting beliefs like that only basic jobs can make you money. They've convinced themselves that engineering might be the perfect job for them because it's the smarter, safer, and more responsible choice of a career. And through that, their system is not running their native program, like what they're actually feeling. So you have those two influences, one from your inner state and the other one from outside, and they're not listening to themselves, basically lying to themselves that engineering is the better choice, even though they feel completely different. And through that, the system is running this falsified signal, and you get more of the same illusionary reality that gets rendered into your life. So you get basically even more confirmation that this is just how life is. And the native configuration, like this basic wish that you already had, is still there, and it never disappears. It just never receives the energy to activate, because that energy keeps getting routed based on a signal that is never theirs to begin with. So it looks like this. You have the operator with the native configuration, with this native program, and this might be the true path when you imagine yourself this multiple realities that we are always shifting billions of times per second. And the moment you get to the falsified signal, so basically lying to yourself, engineering might be better, or acting is not my thing, or any other influences, you're always shifting into some illusionary reality which is actually not yours to begin with. And being honest with oneself is seeing this falsified signal and just being honest with yourself and saying, okay, what's my thing and what's not my thing? How do I feel I should act right now? And it might also change. It doesn't have to be the same forever, but following how you feel like and not how the programs are installed into your system from your childhood is what brings you to your native configuration, so your native program. This is how it looks like, or might look like visually. So let's talk about control. In this case, external control, like controlling the outside world, is an illusion, and you do not push the world around you with willpower. But there's one part in the system where control is actually real, and that's exactly this inner state, and what you're declaring to be true, and your beliefs. This is the things that you can actually control, and through that can control reality, but can't predict it. So everything else moves from the result of how you feel, talking about your inner state and what you're declaring to be true and what you actually believe to be true. Let's talk about navigation from a real starting point. So how does honesty help you navigate reality and get to the actual goals that you feel like your own? Basically, if you do not know where you're standing, or you're lying to yourself where you are at right now, and not be able to navigate where you want to go. And it's true mechanically. It's like with a navigation system which knows where it wants to arrive, but it doesn't know where the starting point is. It just won't work. Let's take a skill example. You tell yourself, I'm pretty bad at communicating, and if it's a lie and you're actually pretty competent, and then your starting point for any plan around communication is set in the wrong place, meaning every action you plan from there has a built-in error, because the starting point and basically the map is wrong. And the same logic applies to your emotional state. If you're lying about how you feel right now, the starting point for any inner work is in the wrong place. You will basically never adjust your inner state, because you will, for example, keep declaring that you're already fine. So if you're already fine and it's a lie, then there's a dissonance. You can't just start that inner work. Let's talk about it like visually. So, for example, this is your actual starting point, and you know you want to get here. You actually know how to navigate it, and you might know. You don't even have to know the path. You at least have the coordinates of your starting point and end point, and it will align naturally without any plans. But even that's like how your subconscious mind will navigate reality. But if your perceived self is right here and you're lying to yourself, I don't know, for example, I feel fine, and this is the point of I feel fine, the path will go basically nowhere, because it's just the wrong coordinate you're already starting with. So navigation basically needs 2 points, and first is where you're actually right now, and observed without distortion. And the second is where you want to be. And usually defined by how the future state feels like, and not by setting those rigid goals. Why instead of setting rigid goals, it's better to feel into the future. I'm going to talk about it in another video, but just in short, usually when you set rigid goals, you're blocking everything else which is possible to achieve, which even might be even better than your own goal that you've set for yourself. So some people like to set themselves like the goal of being a millionaire, but the point is not the money, but how they want to feel like. They might even reach that goal of being a millionaire or being in a relationship, but if they are not happy, because you can set your vector that you're going towards as a state, and if the goal is more of a state, feeling happy, feeling free and abundant, this state will be reached in ways that you can't even predict. So if you want just to feel free and happy, you might get there by being an engineer, or you might get there by being an actor, or by maybe having a relationship, maybe not having you can't predict it. The most important thing for you is not that number, but or like that rigid goal, but how you actually want to feel like in your life. The feeling should be the goal and not a rigid goal. And if the first point is falsified and just plainly wrong, because you lie to yourself, point 2 will stay unreachable. And it's not because you're getting punished. The universe is, the system, the reality is pretty neutral. It's just because the path between point A and point B can't be connected in the right way. So the third mechanic is energy management, and how in a conflict basically feeds on your energy. So lying to yourself costs energy. And when you lie, you have two signals that are running at the same time. You have one signal, the things that are true. For example, I really want to learn an instrument, or right now I feel sad, or I'm afraid of judgment on this video. And the other signal might be what you're actually telling yourself, the lie that you're telling yourself. So I do not have time to learn that instrument, or I feel fine even though I'm not fine, for example, or I am completely confident about publishing videos. And you have those two signals, and they both stay active in the system. And the subconscious mind that knows the truth keeps holding the actual signal. So the narrative layer is holding a lie, and subconsciously you already know what is basically true, and your system is waiting to just accept the truth. And energy is bound holding that contradiction between those 2 points. So the energy is not available for navigation or any action, or maybe even a relationship. So the piano example clarifies the mechanism. The wish to play piano does not leave your system just because you tell yourself that you don't have time or don't want to learn it. It still stays active because the truth is still in your system and you're just not looking at it. And now you're spending basically energy on 2 processes simultaneously, receiving the signal of the actual wish and maintaining the cover story. And neither one moves forward, and the wish is never expressed, and the cover story that you're telling yourself, that lie, never settles. And the moment you state the actual fact, both processes shut down. The wish is now visible and can either move forward through action or stay as that quiet preference. Although I want to say at that point that if you already know the truth, acting on it and acting on that wish is a lot more powerful, because that's like the reason you're getting that signal and that feeling that you want to do something specific. I've heard so many people talk about careers they are not happy with, or actually wanting to do something else, but I cannot right now because I'm in that career, and they're, I don't know, maybe in their 30s, 40s. It's like never too late to change, and sitting in that place of I'm here right now, but I actually want to do right, for example, that career, or like go pursue that passion. And this conflict feeds on basically your whole energy, and it creates a huge energy drain, and basically the whole conflict a lot of people have who are not listening to their wishes and their inner callings. That native program they're already feeling all the time, but has been covered by the programming of society, or their parents, or even maybe their peers who they want to impress. The moment you state the truth, the cover story, because there's nothing to cover anymore, and the energy that was running both processes is now available again. And again, still the best thing right here is acting on what you feel is true and necessary for you right now. And the same mechanic works on as releasing an emotion. So suppression keeps the emotion active, and at the same time the cover of that emotion. Stating something as an observation, so for example, sadness is present right now, releases both, and the emotion moves through, and the cover is not longer needed. And one detail right here is that stating an emotion is different from identifying yourself with that emotion, becoming the emotion. So there's a difference between, okay, sadness is right here. You can feel sadness, you can see and feel sadness or rage run through your system, or you can identify yourself with that emotion and say, for example, I am sad. Stating facts releases, but identification holds on to those emotions. So you have same content of the emotion, but a completely different mechanic. On identification, I also talk in my future videos. There's a huge difference between becoming an emotion or just feeling it through your system and being honest with yourself, how you feel right now. Let's talk about how honesty shifts your render output. The signal coherence. Your system sends one consistent signal instead of two that are competing with each other. Basically, the reality starts converging with your actual configuration. So that's the graphic right here. You don't have the several signals that are running wild. You just have this converging one native configuration. So reality feels less random at that point. Then you get a frequency compatible field. So the people running compatible frequencies start appearing in your field, and situations are starting to match your real signal. And sometimes you might ask yourself, okay, how can this random thing happen at the same time? But it's never random. It's basically your frequency that is aligned. And then you have more available energy. The energy that was tied up holding contradictions is back online for navigation and action. And then you get a more accurate navigation. So both of your starting and your target points are honest, and the path between can be drawn correctly by your native program. That's another thing. You're not planning anything. You're not going into the plan modus how you will get there. You're just honest in the now, and you are honest where you want to get by feeling that, and everything which happens in between will align perfectly. And this is the mechanic underneath everything for the next parts of the masterclass. So everything which comes from here, resource management, action, timing, relationship dynamics, everything I'm going to talk about, all of that assumes that you're honest with yourself first. And without that base, those later mechanics just do not land, because basically you can try every mechanic, but if you're not in your own reality, it just won't work. And let's come to our most important part of the video. I want to show you a 4-step practice how you can actually be honest with yourself. So this is a practical instruction, and it works on emotions, situations, decisions, and anything where you suspect you might be running a falsified signal. First thing you do is state what is right now. So name the emotion, name the thought or situation or skill level as a plain neutral observation without any judgment or without any justification. So you're just stating. For example, sadness is right here, or I feel pretty mad right now, or I'm afraid. You can still say I'm afraid, or like I'm doubting this decision, or you're stating facts about your skills. For example, I'm competent communicating and I might be weak at executing. You're just stating the facts as they are without any emotional attachment to them and without identification. You don't have to become the emotion. And then you state what you actually want right there, the direction of feeling you would prefer instead of what is right now. And again, it's not a rigid goal. It's more of a way how the future should feel like. So I want this to feel like clarity instead of doubt. I want to act independently of other people's reactions. You're stating basically your wish right there. And third step is state your honest belief in the possibility of this occurring. So do you actually believe in that this change is possible? If you do not believe it, say so, and that's completely fine. So honestly, for example, I do not believe I will feel independent of judgment in the near future. And that's the truth. Yeah, like again, here is important to tell the truth. Lying about a belief at this step can again create an dissonance. So like, do you believe that change will appear or not? Again, just a fact. And then the last step is stating your actual resources and then acting small and without rushing. What do you actually have available right now? Do you have time, attention, energy, any support, anything you can do right there to move into that direction? So that will be, again, that part. You can state facts, but if you're not moving anywhere and just standing there being truthful to yourself, it's like doing nothing. It's spiritual bypassing. So you have to act on it and do the smallest version of that action that matches those resources, and all of that without rushing, and in the end not rushing and taking it slow and enjoying the process is changing how this action will land in reality. So stating a fact while holding contempt for yourself or judgment loads that stating with extra signal that the reality also will pick up. That's why I'm telling you right here that all of that should happen with goodwill and love to this loving kind of self-talk. You do not need to judge yourself if you feel any emotions that you wish not to be there. And for example, if you do not believe in the possibility, you still don't have to judge yourself. Completely fine. And even if you're judging yourself, you're again being honest and you're telling yourself, I might be judging myself here. So stating a fact while holding contempt for yourself loads that stating with extra signal, and reality will pick it up. Observation works best when it's neutral. I want to talk right now what the 4 steps look like in practice. Just so you know, like, obviously some of these statements will sound negative, or even most of them when you're working on your inner state. For example, I'm angry and I do not really believe that I can change it, or I feel stuck and I do not actually believe that I will resolve that. And it's fine, and those like perceived negative, honest statements release more energy than positive, falsified ones. And again, judgment is its own layer. If you catch yourself judging, you can state it too. I'm judging myself for this emotion. And once stated, this judgment will loosen its grip, and the emotion underneath becomes accessible without that extra layer of judgment. And what ties an emotion or thought to your system is not the actual emotion. So the problem is never the emotion. The problem is like never the situation. It's the conflict with that emotion. And lying about that emotion is a form of conflict. Even if you're not actively fighting it, even looking away from it is a form of conflict. And that honesty step is what breaks the conflict and lets the energy that is there, the emotion, let's move through your system. And right here, I want to talk about a personal example, which I actually had while creating that video and while writing it, and even before recording it. I have noticed a lie that I have been telling myself, and the lie was that reality should shift fast and without any friction, with that non-struggling, and that I should be able to navigate it precisely without any doubts and without any struggle. And the lie was basically, if I'm doing everything right, everything should happen without struggle. But on the other hand, I have been observing reality around me, and it tells me that physical reality does not work like that. And I'm still telling myself that I can and should just handle life without struggle. And well, that's basically a lie. How did I manage that situation? The first step, again, stating what is. So doubt is present, it is fear of judgment, and I'm questioning myself whether I'm even qualified to talk about this topic. There was so much like struggle and self-doubt about it. I was thinking I should be perfect, like that perfect saint who is always truthful to myself, just to record this video talking about honesty. And basically I stated those facts, what was in my system, what was running through me, what thoughts did I have, what emotions did I feel. And then the second step was what I actually wanted out of it. I wanted to feel certainty. I wanted the action to be independent of my emotions. The third step is to not actually believe I will be free of judgment, fear in the next 2 weeks or the near future. I think doubts will still be there. The truth, I don't need to be in conflict right here and tell myself, okay, that will pass on. Right now, I don't believe that it will be the case, but I still can keep going, right? So fourth step right here, I was looking at my resources and the smallest action I can take. And the resources right now is, this lesson is written, my recording setup works, my attention is here. I've been working on this topic. I have actual experience on this topic. And the smallest action that matches right here is recording the video slowly, without rushing, even if the doubt is running in the background. And the action does not require emotions to be gone. Those emotions can be still present, but I still can take those first steps. And I just do the opposite of what the story suggests, while that doubt continues to make its case, even right now while I'm talking, to be honest. So that's how I'm working with it, and this is how you can navigate your reality from those illusionary potential realities back to where you want to be. And it doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter how you believe that you're too deep into it already. It's not true. Even if you're, 70 years old, it's still better than just like to be truthful to yourself and try and like navigate your reality in the direction you want it to be, and how you want to live your life, instead how it has been told to live. So we have so many influences from outside that are telling us that one job might be more lucrative, or that we should be doing something, or that we shouldn't be doing something, or that a certain kind of career is frowned upon. It doesn't matter right there. What matters is you being honest to yourself and just doing how you feel like and what you would like to do, and just trying things out in this life instead of living those rigid programs that you already know are not your true self, and you already know that you don't want to live in that way, and you know that, for example, your parents have influenced you, and that might be the only reason you're living that kind of life. And even you don't have to change your whole life in an instant. Just stating, to be honest, I'm not happy right now with, for example, that career, or right now I have been pretty pissed off about my parents for the past 10 years, instead of telling you the story that you love them just because society tells that you must love your parents. And just being honest with those emotions, and being honest with your situation, with everything around you, your skills, your potential. And from there on, you can start taking actions into the right direction. So some closing action you can take right now is basically pick one emotion, thought, or situation where you haven't been honest to yourself, and run the 4 steps on it just once today. So you state how you feel, you state belief that it might change or it might not change, and you just look at your resources and take one baby step, one small action towards it, and that's it. You don't have to change your whole life right there. And just notice what happens in the next 2 days, and the render output or reality starts adjusting almost immediately. You feel at least less conflict, and some interesting things might start happening right there.